What happens when an undercover CEO uncovers a toxic culture threatening to destroy his own company? Hello, incredible viewers. Today's story takes you aboard the luxurious cruise line BrightWave Empress, where Oliver Prescott, the visionary CEO, goes undercover as a maintenance worker to investigate why his once thriving business is crumbling. What he discovers is shocking: exploitation, abusive leadership, and a ruthless manager crushing the spirits of hard-working crew members. But Oliver's journey isn't just about exposing corruption, it's about rebuilding trust and restoring BrightWave Empress to its former glory. Stay tuned to see how real leadership can spark true transformation. Oliver Grant, the founder and CEO of BrightWave Cruise Lines, sat in his sleek office overlooking the bustling harbor, his fingers drumming anxiously on the polished mahogany desk. What had once been a thriving luxury cruise line known for its exceptional service and opulent experiences was now buckling under the weight of constant complaints and high employee turnover. Reports of dissatisfied guests, neglected maintenance, and poor hospitality were piling up, tainting the company's pristine reputation. Oliver's frustration deepened as he sifted through review after scathing review, each one echoing the same complaints: understaffed crews, exhausted employees, and an overall decline in quality. It didn't make sense. BrightWave had been his life's work, a dream he built from scratch and expanded into a prestigious name in the cruise industry. But now the numbers were slipping, and his once loyal clients were abandoning the brand in droves. His executive team assured him that it was just a temporary slump, blaming external factors and claiming the issues would resolve themselves. Yet Oliver couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. The polished reports provided by his regional managers painted a deceptively bright picture, one that contradicted the harsh reality of customer complaints flooding his inbox. Feeling increasingly disconnected from the company he'd built, Oliver realized that his hands-off approach had left him blind to the true state of his business. Determined to uncover the truth, he made a bold decision. Instead of relying on corporate reports and polished statistics, Oliver would investigate the problem himself. And he knew exactly how to do it: by going undercover to experience life aboard his own cruise liner as just another crew member. Oliver Grant's decision to go undercover wasn't made lightly. As the head of BrightWave Cruise Lines, he had spent years managing the company from the top, trusting his managers to maintain the standards he had painstakingly built. But as the complaints mounted, Oliver realized that the truth would only be uncovered if he saw the operation from the ground level. With the help of his trusted executive assistant, Laura, he devised a meticulous plan. His sleek, tailored suits and polished demeanor were swapped for the modest uniform of a deckhand: plain navy slacks, a white polo shirt bearing the BrightWave logo, and a faded baseball cap to conceal his identity. His normally clean-shaven face now sported a rugged stubble, and his hair was dyed a darker shade to further mask his appearance. To everyone aboard the BrightWave Empress, he would be known simply as Ben Carter, a new hire eager to earn his keep on the bustling cruise liner. Laura provided him with a fabricated resume that painted Ben Carter as an ordinary man with minimal experience in hospitality, seeking work to make ends meet. It was deliberately designed to be unremarkable, ensuring that no one would suspect he was anything other than what he claimed to be. Oliver also adopted a new manner of speaking. His authoritative, commanding voice softened to sound uncertain and inexperienced. The illusion was flawless, down to the smallest details. Oliver boarded the BrightWave Empress just like any other new employee, his disguise so convincing that even the crew manager, Marcus, barely glanced at his paperwork before assigning him duties. From the moment he stepped aboard, Oliver was thrust into the world of menial labor and demanding tasks. His assignments ranged from scrubbing decks and polishing railings to restocking guest amenities and assisting with heavy luggage. As he blended into the crew, Oliver quickly realized that his journey would not only test his physical endurance, but also challenge everything he thought he knew about the company he had built. It didn't take long for Oliver to realize that Marcus, the crew manager, was at the core of the BrightWave Empress's problems. As the man responsible for overseeing the entire staff's day-to-day operations, Marcus wielded his authority like a blunt instrument, using fear and intimidation to maintain control. His leadership style was rooted in harshness rather than guidance, and he made it clear that efficiency mattered above all else, no matter the cost to employee morale. Marcus strutted through the decks with a constant scowl, his voice perpetually gruff and dismissive. He barked orders without a hint of patience or respect, often belittling crew members who struggled to keep pace with his relentless demands. Oliver witnessed Marcus berate a young steward named Callum for failing to complete his duties within an impossible time frame. "If you can't keep up, you're nothing but dead weight," Marcus snarled, his voice carrying throughout the corridor. Callum's shoulders hunched under the verbal assault, his cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Oliver saw the dread in Callum's eyes, the same resignation he noted in others who had grown accustomed to Marcus's tirades. Favoritism was another tool Marcus wielded to maintain control. Those who curried his favor by turning a blind eye to his abusive tactics were granted leniency in their duties and, occasionally, more desirable shifts. But those who dared to speak up or show signs of exhaustion were swiftly reprimanded or assigned the worst tasks available. The toxic culture Marcus had fostered was evident in every weary glance exchanged between crew members. Their solidarity formed not out of camaraderie but out of shared fear. Oliver's frustration grew with each passing day as he observed Marcus's heavy-handed approach, his cruelty shredding what little morale remained among the crew. It was becoming increasingly clear that Marcus's management style wasn't just inefficient, it was outright destructive. Oliver knew he had to uncover the full extent of Marcus's abuse if he was to save his company from falling apart. As Oliver continued his undercover journey aboard the BrightWave Empress, he quickly discovered that Marcus's harsh leadership was only part of a much larger problem. The entire management system seemed structured to exploit the workforce rather than support it, with Marcus capitalizing on every loophole to maintain his iron grip. During late-night conversations in the cramped crew quarters, Oliver listened as his fellow employees shared their grievances in hushed tones. Callum confessed that Marcus often manipulated schedules to avoid paying overtime, forcing crew members to work grueling shifts without proper compensation. To make matters worse, Marcus deliberately kept most workers' hours just below the threshold required for health benefits, ensuring the company saved money while employees struggled with exhaustion and financial insecurity. Oliver noted how those who dared to question Marcus's decisions were swiftly punished. Hours would be slashed or reassigned without notice, leaving them scrambling to make ends meet. Promotions were a far-off dream for anyone unwilling to comply with Marcus's demands, and he rewarded loyalty through favors and preferable schedules rather than merit. The disparity between those who kowtowed to Marcus and those who resisted his abusive control was stark, creating a culture of division and resentment among the crew. Adding to the injustice, Oliver discovered that payroll adjustments were routinely made without employees' knowledge or consent. Marcus justified these alterations as necessary corrections for errors in timekeeping, but Oliver soon learned that they were simply a means to trim labor costs and pad the department's budget reports. Crew members who tried to report discrepancies were dismissed as troublemakers or reprimanded for their audacity. The unspoken rule was clear: comply with Marcus's demands or face repercussions that could jeopardize their livelihood. The corruption ran deep, tainting every aspect of the workforce's experience aboard the BrightWave Empress. Marcus's unchecked authority allowed him to exploit workers with impunity, all while presenting himself as an efficient manager maintaining order. But Oliver saw through the facade. The ship was sinking, not from storms or financial struggles, but from the greed and cruelty festering within its leadership. The breaking point came on a sweltering afternoon as the BrightWave Empress sailed through calm sapphire waters. Oliver was working alongside Lila in the crew's dining hall, both of them trying to keep pace with the unrelenting stream of passengers seeking lunch. Marcus had pushed the entire crew beyond their limits, demanding flawless service with minimal resources. The heat of the day only intensified the strain, leaving the workers drenched in sweat and struggling to catch their breath. As the lunch rush reached its peak, Lila's movements became increasingly sluggish, her hands trembling as she served plates and refilled drinks. Oliver noticed her pale complexion, the beads of sweat glistening on her forehead, and the unsteady way she gripped the serving tray. Suddenly, her knees buckled, and she crumpled to the floor, the dishes shattering around her. The room fell silent as passengers gasped and whispered, their previous annoyance replaced with concern and morbid curiosity. Oliver was at Lila's side in an instant, his heart pounding as he helped her sit up. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes unfocused. "I'm fine," she mumbled, but her voice was weak, a testament to the grueling shift she had endured. Marcus stormed over, his face twisted with irritation rather than concern. "What the hell is this, Lila?" he snapped. "If you can't handle the work, you're not fit to be here." His voice cut through the air like a knife, cold and uncaring. "She collapsed because she's exhausted," Oliver shot back, his own voice trembling with fury. "You're overworking everyone, and you don't even care," Marcus sneered, dismissing Oliver's outburst with a wave of his hand. "They're paid to work, not complain. If they can't handle the job, they can find another ship." Oliver's fists clenched, his patience fraying with each cruel word Marcus spat. "You think it's acceptable to drive people to the point of collapse just to make yourself look good?" he challenged. Marcus's eyes narrowed, his arrogance morphing into anger. "You don't know anything about running a ship. Stay out of my way or you'll regret it." The threat was unmistakable, but Oliver was no longer willing to stand by and watch his employees suffer. As he helped Lila to her feet, he made a silent vow. Marcus's reign of cruelty was about to end. The time for observation was over. It was time to act. Determined to put an end to Marcus's tyrannical control over the BrightWave Empress, Oliver intensified his efforts to gather undeniable proof of the corruption festering within his own ship. With every interaction he observed and every complaint he overheard, Oliver documented the injustices with meticulous care. He secretly recorded conversations where Marcus openly mocked crew members' complaints, boasting about how he manipulated schedules to avoid paying overtime and twisted reports to meet his own profit targets. Oliver collected testimonies from employees like Lila, who described how their paychecks were routinely shorted, and from Callum, who recounted how Marcus threatened anyone who dared speak out. Oliver's anger grew with each new piece of evidence, his file swelling with statements, recordings, and payroll discrepancies that painted a damning portrait of Marcus's leadership. He even documented Marcus's attempts to cover up Lila's collapse, blaming her for laziness and forbidding her from seeking medical attention during work hours. Knowing he needed more than just testimony, Oliver also retrieved the manipulated payroll logs and scheduling records from the ship's internal systems, revealing clear patterns of exploitation and abuse. Through whispered conversations and late-night discussions, Oliver rallied the crew's support, encouraging them to stand together against Marcus's tyranny. Many were hesitant, afraid of retaliation, but Oliver's quiet determination inspired a cautious but growing courage among them. His preparations were nearly complete. With evidence in hand and the crew's support building, Oliver knew the time had come to confront Marcus head-on. The truth was about to be revealed, and the BrightWave Empress would never be the same. The confrontation came on a humid, sun-soaked morning when Oliver called for an all-crew meeting on the BrightWave Empress's central deck. The crew gathered, their expressions ranging from weary resignation to cautious hope. Marcus arrived last, his swaggering confidence untouched by the complaints he had long dismissed. Oliver stood at the front, his gaze steady as he addressed everyone. "I've spent weeks among you, observing, listening, and learning the truth of what has been happening on this ship," he began, his voice calm but resolute. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, curiosity mingling with skepticism. Marcus scoffed from the back, arms crossed, his posture dripping with arrogance. "What exactly are you trying to say, Oliver?" Marcus sneered, his tone dripping with mockery. "You're just a steward. You don't understand how things work here." Oliver met his gaze without flinching. "Actually, Marcus, I'm much more than a steward." With a deliberate motion, Oliver removed his hat and sunglasses, allowing the crew to see him clearly for the first time. Gasps rippled through the crowd as recognition dawned. "I'm Oliver Whitford, the owner of the BrightWave Empress, and I've spent the past month undercover, witnessing the nightmare you've created firsthand." Marcus's face went pale, his mouth working soundlessly as Oliver continued. "I've gathered evidence of your manipulation of payroll logs, your threats and intimidation tactics, and your total disregard for employee safety. I've seen how you exploit these people to pad your own pockets, and how you punish anyone who dares speak out." Oliver held up a stack of papers and a recording device. "These are the records, conversations, manipulated payroll logs, schedules tampered with to avoid paying overtime. You've abused your power, Marcus, and it ends now. Marcus's bluster evaporated, his shoulders slumping under the weight of the evidence presented against him. I can explain, he stammered, his bravado crumbling. Oliver shook his head. You've already said enough. Security will escort you off the ship. Effective immediately, you're fired. A silence fell over the deck as the stunned crew processed what had just happened. Then, as if breaking through a dam, murmurs of relief and disbelief spread throughout the group. Marcus was led away, his eyes wide with shock and humiliation. Oliver looked out over his employees, his voice steady. This ship deserves better, and starting today we're going to rebuild together. With Marcus removed from his position, Oliver wasted no time beginning the process of rebuilding trust and repairing the damage caused by months of neglect and exploitation. As the BrightWave Empress sailed into calmer waters, Oliver gathered the crew for a candid discussion in the ship's grand lounge, its lavish decor a stark contrast to the weary faces around him. I owe all of you an apology, Oliver began, his voice steady but heavy with regret. I put my trust in the wrong person, and in doing so, I failed you. I let the BrightWave Empress become a place where fear and exploitation thrived. That ends now. Oliver then opened the floor, inviting anyone to speak freely about their experiences, concerns, and suggestions for improvement. At first, the crew hesitated, their years of conditioned silence weighing heavily on their tongues. But once Thomas, the assistant steward, spoke up, others followed. They described how Marcus had twisted their schedules to avoid paying overtime, how complaints were buried under endless bureaucracy, and how their requests for safety improvements were outright ignored. Every word was noted by Oliver, who made it clear that this wasn't just a courtesy. Change was coming. Understanding that words alone couldn't heal the wounds, Oliver implemented immediate reforms. Payroll discrepancies were corrected, and back pay owed to employees was calculated and distributed without delay. An anonymous feedback system was introduced, allowing crew members to voice their concerns without fear of retaliation. Oliver also installed a direct communication line between the crew and himself, ensuring that their grievances would never again be buried under layers of ineffective management. He continued to work alongside the crew daily, often seen cleaning, serving guests, and listening intently to those who had been silenced for too long. His actions spoke louder than any speech could, proving his sincerity through sweat and effort. Crew members like Thomas and Isabella, who had once felt powerless under Marcus's regime, now found themselves respected and valued. The weight of oppression began to lift, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and purpose. By the end of the week, Oliver had restored some measure of hope to the BrightWave Empress. It wasn't a complete healing, but the foundations of trust were being rebuilt, and for the first time in a long while, the crew dared to believe that their voices truly mattered. With the initial wounds beginning to heal, Oliver focused on implementing structural reforms to ensure the toxic environment Marcus had cultivated would never return to the BrightWave Empress. Recognizing that leadership played a crucial role in the well-being of the crew, Oliver initiated a thorough review of the ship's management structure. He replaced Marcus with Isabella, a dedicated and empathetic assistant manager who had consistently proven her leadership abilities through kindness and fairness. To ensure long-term stability, Oliver established clear guidelines for how supervisors were expected to treat their subordinates, prioritizing respect, communication, and transparency. Oliver also introduced a mentorship program aimed at empowering promising crew members like Thomas, who had shown resilience and dedication despite the difficult conditions. Through this program, experienced leaders guided newer staff members, fostering a culture of collaboration and personal growth. To prevent future exploitation, Oliver mandated quarterly reviews that assessed not only productivity, but also employee satisfaction, safety conditions, and overall morale. These reports would be accessible to all crew members, ensuring transparency and accountability. Understanding that Marcus's manipulation of schedules and payroll had been one of the most harmful aspects of his regime, Oliver implemented a new automated payroll system monitored by independent auditors. This system ensured that all hours worked were accurately recorded and compensated, eliminating the possibility of managers adjusting schedules to avoid paying overtime. Additionally, Oliver created a direct feedback line between the crew and the upper management team, bypassing potential interference from mid-level supervisors. By prioritizing transparency and accountability at every level, Oliver aimed to rebuild the BrightWave Empress into a workplace where fairness and respect were the cornerstones of success. His reforms weren't merely reactions to the problems he had discovered. They were preventive measures designed to foster a positive environment that would continue to thrive long after his presence on board. For the crew, these changes signaled not only a new era of leadership, but also a renewed sense of pride and belonging. With the reforms firmly in place, BrightWave Empress entered a new era of growth and excellence. Oliver Prescott's tireless efforts to rebuild trust and integrity had begun to bear fruit, not only within the crew's morale, but also in the company's overall performance. As word spread of the transformative changes aboard the cruise liner, passenger satisfaction ratings soared, bolstered by a workforce that finally felt valued, respected, and empowered. Employees who once dreaded their shifts now carried themselves with renewed pride and enthusiasm, their voices no longer stifled by fear of retribution. Oliver's hands-on leadership style and his genuine investment in his staff's well-being proved to be the catalyst for an unprecedented turnaround. Guests, too, noticed the difference. The service on the BrightWave Empress became more personable, attentive, and genuinely warm. Reviews highlighted not only the luxury amenities, but also the exceptional hospitality provided by a motivated and satisfied crew. Profits began to climb steadily, reflecting the success of Oliver's vision of a company built on integrity rather than exploitation. The mentorship program, Guiding Stars, flourished, with seasoned crew members eager to share their knowledge and experiences with newer staff. This culture of collaboration fostered creativity, efficiency, and loyalty, ensuring that the positive changes would continue to thrive. Oliver's decision to elevate Isabella to head of management proved to be a masterstroke. Her dedication to the crew's welfare and her ability to blend compassion with leadership set a new standard across the ship. The policies Oliver had put in place, transparent payroll systems, anonymous feedback channels, regular audits, and ongoing training programs, ensured that the ship's progress wasn't just a temporary uptick, but a sustainable transformation. Regular reviews confirmed that Isabella and her team were adhering to the company's ethical guidelines, maintaining a healthy, respectful, and productive work environment. Looking back, Oliver realized that his journey aboard the BrightWave Empress was more than just a fight against corruption. It was a rediscovery of his own values as a leader. By engaging directly with his employees and fostering an environment where integrity and respect thrived, he had secured not only the ship's future, but also his own renewed passion for leadership. As the BrightWave Empress continued to sail towards new horizons, Oliver felt a profound sense of fulfillment. What began as a painful discovery had turned into a powerful testament of resilience and true leadership, a lesson he would carry forward for years to come. The story of BrightWave Empress delivers a powerful lesson about leadership, integrity, and the importance of genuine connection between management and employees. Oliver Prescott's journey reveals that leadership is not just about overseeing operations or ensuring profitability. It's about fostering an environment where people feel respected, valued, and empowered. By going undercover, Oliver discovered how a toxic culture of exploitation and fear had been allowed to fester under unethical leadership. The lesson he learned was clear. Ignoring employee well-being in favor of profit leads to a slow, inevitable collapse. True leadership, as Oliver demonstrated, requires humility, empathy, and accountability. By actively listening to his crew's experiences, acknowledging his own failures, and implementing tangible changes, Oliver restored integrity to BrightWave Empress. His commitment to transparency, fair treatment, and open communication laid the foundation for lasting growth and success. The story teaches us that positive change is possible when leaders are willing to confront harsh truths and take decisive action to correct systemic issues. Oliver's transformation of the BrightWave Empress proves that when a company's foundation is built on respect, compassion, and accountability, it can weather any storm and emerge stronger than ever.